When Mongol Khan became Great Khan in 1251, he immediately set out to implement his grandfather Genghis Khan's plan for a world empire. To lead the task of subduing the nations in the west, he selected his brother, another of Genghis Khan's grandsons, Hulagu Khan. It took Hulagu Khan 5 years to assemble an army, but now he was prepared to begin the conquest. Operating from the Mongol base in Persia, Hulagu proceeded south. Hulagu and his army had conquered some of the most powerful and long-standing dynasties of the time. The Great Khan Monk had ordered good treatment for those who yielded without resistance and destruction for the rest. Other countries in the Mongols' path submitted to Mongol authority and contributed forces to the Mongol army. When the Mongols had reached Baghdad, their army included Cilician Armenians and even some Frankish forces from the Principality of Antioch. The assassins in Persia fell. The 500-year-old Abbasid Caliphate of Baghdad was destroyed, and the Ayyubid dynasty in Damascus fell as well. Hulagu's plan was then to proceed southwards through the Kingdom of Jerusalem towards the Mamluk Sultanate to confront the major Islamic power. In 1260, Hulagu sent envoys to Qutuz in Cairo with a letter demanding his surrender. Qutuz responded, however, by killing the envoys and displaying their heads on Bab Zuwayl, one of the gates of Cairo. However, Hulagu was unable to respond. Hulagu himself claimed that he withdrew most of his forces because he could not sustain such a large army logistically, that the fodder in the region had been mostly used up, and that a Mongol custom was to withdraw to cooler lands for the summer. In the meantime, the Mongols attempted to form a Franco-Mongol alliance, or at least to demand the submission of the remnant of the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem. However, the Pope Alexander IV had forbidden it. The barons of Acre and the remainder of the Crusader outposts, contacted by the Mongols, had also been approached by the Mamluks and sought military assistance against the Mongols. Though the Mamluks were the traditional enemies of the Franks, the barons of Acre recognized the Mongols as the more immediate menace, and so the Crusaders opted for a position of cautious neutrality between the two forces. In an unusual move, they agreed that the Egyptian Mamluks could march north, through the Crusader states uncontested, and even camp to resupply near Acre. When news arrived that the Mongols had crossed the Jordan River, Sultan Qutuz and his forces proceeded southeast, toward the spring called Ain Jalut, also known as Harod Spring in Hebrew, in the Jezreel Valley. The first to advance were the Mongols, whose force also included troops from the Kingdom of Georgia and about 500 troops from the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia. The Mamluks had the advantage of knowing the terrain. And Qutuz capitalized on that by hiding the bulk of his force in the highlands and hoping to bait the Mongols with a smaller force under Baybars. Both armies fought for many hours, with Baybars usually implementing hit-and-run tactics to provoke the Mongol troops and to preserve the bulk of his troops intact. When the Mongols carried out another heavy assault, Baybars, who it is said had laid out the overall strategy of the battle since he had spent much time in that region earlier in his life as a fugitive, and his men feigned a final retreat to draw the Mongols into the highlands to be ambushed by the rest of the Mamluk force. The Mongol leader, Kitbuka, already provoked by the constant fleeing of Baybars and his troops, committed a grave mistake. Instead of suspecting a trick, Kitbuka decided to march forward with all of his troops on the trail of the fleeing Mamluks. When the Mongols reached the highlands, Mamluk forces emerged from hiding and began to fire arrows and attack with their cavalry. The Mongols then found themselves surrounded on all sides. The Mongol army fought very fiercely and very aggressively to break out. Some distance away, Qutuz watched with his private legion. When Qutuz saw the left wing of the Mamluk army almost destroyed by the desperate Mongols seeking an escape route, he cried loudly 3 times, "O Islam, O Allah, grant your servant Qutuz a victory against these Mongols." The Mongols were pushed back and fled to a vicinity of Basin, followed by Qutuz's forces. But they managed to reorganize and to return to the battlefield, making a successful counterattack. However, the battle shifted toward the Mamluks, who now had both the geographic and psychological advantage. And some of the Mongols were eventually forced to retreat. Kitbuka, with almost the rest of the Mongol army that had remained in the region, perished. The Mamluks suffered heavy losses in the Battle of Ain Jalut, but nearly the entire Mongol contingent was destroyed. This battle was a severe blow to the confidence and reputation of the hordes, which had never suffered such a defeat. Suddenly, they did not seem invincible. Despite the loss, however, the Mongols did not simply fold their tents and go home. Hulagu returned to Syria in 1262, intent on avenging Kepuka. However, Berk Khan of the Golden Horde had converted to Islam and formed an alliance against his uncle Hulagu. He attacked Hulagu's forces, promising revenge for the sacking of Baghdad. Although this war among the Khanates drew off much of Hulagu's strength, he continued to attack the Mamluks, as did his successors. The Ilkhanate Mongols drove towards Cairo on numerous occasions between 1281 and 1312. Their only victory was in 1300, but it proved short-lived. Finally, in 1323, as the fractious Mongol Empire began to disintegrate, the Khan of the Ilkhanids sued for a peace agreement with the Mamluks.